In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. From the dust of the ground, he formed Adam, the first man, and breathed into him the breath of life. Adam opened his eyes and found himself in a beautiful world, created just for him. God placed Adam in the Garden of Eden, a paradise filled with every kind of tree that was pleasing to the eye and good for food. In the center of the garden stood the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God told Adam to care for the garden and enjoy its fruits, but warned him not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for on that day, he would surely die. God brought all the animals to Adam to see what he would name them. Adam named each one, from the mighty lion to the tiny sparrow. But among all the animals, no suitable companion was found for Adam. Seeing that it was not good for Adam to be alone, God caused him to fall into a deep sleep. While Adam slept, God took one of his ribs and formed it into a woman. When Adam awoke, he was filled with joy and said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, she shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man." Adam and Eve lived happily in the garden, walking with God in the cool of the day. They were naked, but felt no shame, for they were innocent and knew only good. They enjoyed the beauty and abundance of Eden, and their hearts were full of peace and love. But one day, the serpent, who was more crafty than any of the wild animals God had made, approached Eve. "Did God really say, 'You must not eat from any tree in the garden?'" the serpent asked. Eve replied, "We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say, 'You must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die.'" The serpent, with a cunning smile, said, "You will not surely die. For God knows that when you eat of it your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Eve looked at the fruit and saw that it was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom. She took some and ate it, and she also gave some to Adam, who was with her, and he ate it. As soon as they had eaten, their eyes were opened, and they realized they were naked. They quickly sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves. In the cool of the day, God walked in the garden, but Adam and Eve hid among the trees. God called out, "Where are you?" Adam replied, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." "Who told you that you were naked?" God asked. "Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" Adam blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the serpent. But God knew what they had done. To Adam, he said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat of it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken, for dust you are and to dust you will return." But even in judgment, God made a promise. He would not abandon his creation. One day, a descendant of Eve would crush the serpent's head, defeating evil once and for all. This was the promise of redemption, a glimmer of hope in a dark moment. God made garments of skin for Adam and Eve and clothed them. Then he said, "The man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat, and live forever." So God banished Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which they had been taken. He placed cherubim and a flaming sword flashing back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life. Adam and Eve worked hard in their new life outside the garden. The ground was not as fertile, and they had to toil to grow their food. Eve gave birth to children, experiencing both the pain and joy of motherhood. Though life was challenging, they held on to the promise of God's redemption. They taught their children about God's love and the importance of following His ways, hoping that one day, their descendants would see the fulfillment of the promise. Adam and Eve lived long lives, witnessing their family grow and the world change. Though they carried the burden of their mistake, they also carried the hope of God's promise. They passed down the story of the garden, the serpent, and the promise to their children, ensuring that the knowledge of God's love and the hope of redemption would be remembered for generations to come. Though Adam and Eve did not live to see the fulfillment of God's promise, they trusted in His word. The promise of redemption was not just for them but for all their descendants. Many years later, a descendant of Eve would come to crush the serpent's head and bring salvation to all people. This was the promise that carried through the generations, giving hope to all who believed.